Kicked out at 16, mom's thief. In October's 8:45 p.m. rain. Sisters, $420 stolen sob. Dad checked ATM. Her lie disintegrated. You know, some nights just change everything. For me, it was an October evening, 8:45 p.m. I was 16, standing on my front porch in the cold Michigan rain, listening to my own mother scream "thief" at me. My sister, Brianna, was inside, weeping into my mom's shoulder, putting on a performance that would make Hollywood proud. My dad wasn't there, but I knew his check of the ATM records would eventually expose her lie. My mom always played favorites with Brianna, and that night she picked her over me. So I said no. I got out. I built my own life, but they weren't finished with me yet. Before we dive into that, let me start at the beginning. My name's Mason, and I'm 29 now. I work for a design business that creates sustainable agricultural equipment. It sounds boring, I know, until you realize why tractors exist and how someone has to make them stop sucking. Last year, I got engaged to a girl who truly understands me. Life is actually pretty decent these days, but it wasn't always like this. Growing up, Dad oversaw a printing business, mostly working nights. Mom was a stay-at-home parent until Brianna and I hit middle school. Then she started part-time admin work at a dental office. Brianna is 3 years older than me, and honestly, she was always the golden child. I was the spare tire, the one you keep in your trunk, just in case. That night, it was 48 degrees, rain falling sideways. October in Michigan is no joke. Standing on my front porch at 8:45 p.m., all I had was a backpack and soggy sneakers. That's when I learned how quickly your life can end without you actually dying. It was my sophomore year. My sister, Brianna, decided I was a suitable target. I saw her through the living room window, on the couch with Mom, dramatically sobbing into tissues like she'd just endured something horrific. Mom had that look on her face, you know the one. She'd already decided who was guilty and who needed protection. Brianna was 19, and she'd spent our whole lives as the one who mattered. I was the invisible one, the one who ran cross-country and fixed things around the house without causing any problems. Dad was at work, so he wasn't around for the drama. It was just me, Mom, and Brianna. Mom was always fiercely protective of Brianna. I think she saw herself in her. The same anxiety, the same need for affirmation, the same tendency to spiral when things got tough. Brianna was Mom's mirror. I looked and acted like Dad. That made Brianna worth preserving and me disposable. This dynamic had been building for years. Brianna needed help with anything, and Mom would jump in. Fail the test? Mom called the teacher to protest. Cut from the volleyball team? Mom complained to the athletic director about partiality. Meanwhile, I'd bring home straight A's and Mom would glance at my report card, say, "Good job," and then go back to whatever catastrophe Brianna was having that week. I quickly learned that being low maintenance meant being invisible. I'd been at practice just 2 hours earlier. Coach Bennett made us do hill repeats until our legs turned to jello. I got home at 6:10 p.m., dreaming of a shower and my bed. Mom's Camry was in the driveway. Music was blaring from Brianna's room. Wednesday normal. Then I walked into the kitchen and found Mom standing there. Arms crossed, face stiff and cold. "Sit down." I sat. Brianna entered from the living room, eyes red, phone clutched in her hand like evidence. Mom didn't waste time. "Brianna told me what you did, Mason. How you've been withdrawing money from her account. Small amounts, assuming she wouldn't notice." The accusation felt strange. Too specific, yet also too vague. "What exactly are you talking about?" "Don't lie to me." Mom's voice rose half an octave. "She has proof. Transactions, dates, everything." Brianna held up her banking app. There it was. Withdrawals over the last 3 months. $25 here, $45 there, $70 last week. It added up to $420. I didn't do any of that. Then explain how money disappears immediately after you use her laptop. Brianna's voice cracked wonderfully. You're the only person who knows my passwords. I didn't know her passwords. I hadn't used her laptop in maybe 8 months. Not since she got anxious about privacy and started keeping it locked in her room. But the way she looked at me, none of it mattered. She'd already composed the narrative in her mind. This is ridiculous. Check the security cameras where she withdrew it. Check her transaction history. I don't even have access to. You stole from your sister. Mom cut me off. Your own sister, who's been saving for college. Do you know how sick that is? Brianna was weeping harder now, really selling it. An Academy Award performance. I saw her shoulders quiver, tears trickling down her cheeks, and something in my belly wrenched, not from sadness, but from recognition. I knew when she was fake. We'd grown up in the same house. I'd seen her rehearse sobbing in front of the mirror before asking Mom for something. This was that times 10. I tried 3 more times to explain that it didn't make sense. I had my own money from the bike shop where I worked weekends. Brianna's story had holes big enough to drive a truck through, but Mom wasn't hearing it. Your father is on his way home, but I want you out of this house before he arrives. I will not keep a thief under my roof. Mom, please, get out. She forcefully shoved me toward the door. I threw my backpack after myself. The deadbolt clicked shut with a solid, final sound. Through the window, I watched Brianna lean against Mom's shoulder. Mom brushed her hair, mumbling things I couldn't hear. It looked rehearsed, like they'd practiced this. I stood there for about 5 minutes before the rain started. Light drizzle at first, then torrential drops that soaked through my hoodie in seconds. My phone was at 14%. The garage was locked. The rear shed smelled like fertilizer and old paint. So I started walking. Our subdivision had security cameras, ring doorbells, neighborhood watch signs. But nobody was watching me now, just vacant streets and cozy houses with families inside doing normal things. I passed the Hendersons' house. Their porch light was on, and I could see them through the window, watching TV together. An entire family, normal and safe. Everything I thought I had 2 hours ago. I ended up at Riverside Park, sitting beneath the gazebo the Rotary Club built 3 years ago. The seat was damp, leaves accumulated in the corners, turning to mush. A jogger passed by, earbuds in. He didn't even look at the wet kid sitting alone at 9:15 on a school night. My hands were shaky, not from cold, but from something deeper, as if my body was trying to disengage from what was happening. I kept replaying the scene in the kitchen. Mom's expression, Brianna's tears. The fact that neither of them took even a second to consider if I was telling the truth. 15 years of being their son and brother meant nothing in the face of one charge. At 9:38 p.m. I called my dad. On the third ring, he answered, his voice tired. What's up? I'm in Riverside Park. Mom kicked me out. Brianna said I took money from her, and Mom trusted her without investigating anything. So I need you to come get me. The words spilled out quickly. Dad went silent for 4 seconds. Stay there. Don't move. I'm 18 minutes out. He made it in 12. His pickup pulled up, headlights cutting through the rain. I climbed inside, and the heat hit me like a physical wall. Dad looked at my face, my soaking clothes, how I was shivering. Tell me everything. So I did. The accusation, the banking app, Mom's instant judgment, Brianna's unshed sobs, being locked out without a chance to explain. Dad listened without interrupting, his jaw tightening with each phrase. When I finished, Dad gripped the steering wheel. You didn't make those withdrawals. No. You know I have my own money. Yes, from the bicycle shop. You don't need to take from Brianna. He nodded decisively. We're going home, and we're getting to the bottom of this tonight. The drive back took 4 minutes. Every second felt like it was leading up to something. Dad walked through the front door like a man on a mission. Mom was still on the couch with Brianna, looking content. That comfort vanished when she saw me behind him. Thomas, I told you. You told me there was an emergency. You didn't tell me you sent our son out in the rain without checking any facts. Mom stood up defensively. Brianna showed me the proof. Transactions can be falsified or misattributed. Where is her phone? Let's look at the proof. Brianna clutched her phone to her chest. Dad held out his hand. Either show me the actual proof or admit you're lying. Those are your options. The stillness stretched. Brianna's gaze flickered to Mom, hoping for backup. Mom stepped forward. She doesn't have to prove anything to you. We know what happened. No, you know what Brianna told you. That's not the same thing. Dad's voice remained level. Calm, the kind of quiet that's more deadly than screaming. Brianna, please log into your bank account on the computer right now so we can all see the full transaction history. Brianna hesitated. Just half a second, but I caught it. So did Dad. She hurried to the kitchen table and opened her laptop, hands trembling. The login page loaded. She entered her credentials. The account summary popped up. $743 available balance. The transaction history showed the withdrawals she mentioned. But when Dad clicked on the details, he saw ATM locations. What ATM did you use on October 6th? Brianna blinked. I can't remember. It was the corner of Maple and 5th. That's 3 blocks from your friend Madison's house. Dad pulled up Google Maps. Show me where you were that day. He started clicking through other transactions. Each one had a location. Each one corresponded to places Brianna had visited, according to her own social media posts. October 6th, 2:40 p.m. Photo taken at Madison's house, caption, study group. 2:58 p.m. Withdrawal from an ATM 3 blocks away. October 14th, around noon. Picture at the mall with friends. 12:26 p.m. Withdrawal from the mall ATM. 3 more transactions, same pattern. By midnight, the theft story was dead. That's when she pivoted. This isn't even the worst part. Her voice became hushed, scared sounding. I only mention money to avoid talking about the real reason I'm upset. Mom immediately moved into protective mode. What's the real reason? Brianna looked down at her hands and started to cry. Not the performance from before. This was different, more deliberate. Last Tuesday, after everyone had left practice, he cornered me outside the equipment shed. The air became thick, toxic. I couldn't breathe. That never happened. You are lying. Brianna's voice crackled. I've got bruises from where you grabbed me. She pulled up her sleeve, revealing markings on her upper arm. They were yellowed, but still visible, old enough to seem authentic, yet fresh enough to be believable. Dad's voice cut through. What day was it? Last Tuesday. What time? After practice. Around 5:20 p.m. Dad took out his phone. Last Tuesday, October 21st. What time did practice end? 5:05, I said. So, where were you after that? Bike shop. I had a shift at 5:20. I worked until closing. Dad called the bike shop and put it on speaker. Gary, the owner, answered and confirmed I'd worked the entire evening. Clocked in at 5:18 p.m. Worked until 8:50 p.m. before closing. Never left. Brianna's face went white. I meant the Tuesday prior. I was baffled. Dad didn't even blink. October 11th. On that Tuesday, I picked him up from practice. We went to Home Depot. I have the receipt. Time stamp 5:32 p.m. Every word in the room seemed to plummet to the floor. Brianna was cornered, but she didn't give up. When you've been traumatized, the days blend together. Mom grasped onto this. Of course, you're confused, dear. Trauma does that. Dad stared at her for a long time. Then he stared at me. Get your stuff. We are leaving. Thomas, you can't simply. We packed duffel bags into his pickup in the rain. Clothes, school supplies, my running shoes. Mom stood at the doorway, but she didn't try to stop us. Brianna remained inside, watching from her bedroom window. I saw the curtain shift as I looked up. I saw her face in the gap. She appeared afraid. Good. 25 minutes later, we arrived at a hotel off the highway. Dad sat on the side of the bed, head in his hands. I'll contact a lawyer tomorrow. I hoped to feel relieved. Instead, I just felt hollow. I woke to voices coming through the hotel wall. A muffled altercation next door. The clock read 6:11 a.m. Dad was already up, sitting in a chair near the window, drinking coffee from the lobby machine. The room smelled like burnt coffee and industrial cleaning agents. Welcome to rock bottom. He said, we need to go back. Gather the rest of your belongings before school. The house felt different in daylight. Colder, somehow. Mom was in the kitchen preparing breakfast, as if it were any other Thursday. Eggs with toast. The routine unchanged. When she saw us walk in, her expression became complex. Thomas, I believe we should all sit down and discuss this rationally. The events of yesterday night were everything but peaceful. Dad's voice sounded flat. You threw your child out in the rain because you chose to trust a falsehood without verifying any facts. I was guarding Brianna. She was upset. She showed me evidence. She showed you her own withdrawals, which she blamed on him. That is not proof. That was the story you wanted to believe. Mom's mouth constricted. She turned to face me, and her expression softened. Her eyes were filled with real remorse. Mason, I apologize. I truly am sorry. I should have listened to you first. I should have reviewed everything before reacting. I was terrified about Brianna, and that clouded my judgment. I know I've wounded you, and I want to make things right. Can we simply discuss this as a family? For half a second, I wanted to believe it. I hoped she knew what she had done. Then I opened my mouth. You didn't ask, I said. Mom blinked. What? You didn't ask for my side. You didn't check the ATM locations. You didn't look at Brianna's posts. You just locked the door. The softness disappeared. Her expression stiffened. I have apologized. I've confessed I was incorrect. What else do you want from me? I didn't ask for anything. So, what's the problem? I'm trying to remedy this, but you're being difficult. I'm being difficult. Don't take that tone with me. I'm still your mother. Then behave like it. The words came out harsher than I intended. Mom's face turned crimson. Get your belongings and get out. If you want to live with your father while being rude, that is fine. But don't come crying to me when you understand what you've sacrificed. Dad tried to say something, but I was already upstairs. The rest of my belongings fit into 2 duffel bags. Posters remained on the walls. Trophies remained on the shelf. I didn't want anything to remind me of this place. Brianna entered my doorway as I was packing, still in her pajamas, hair unkempt. She appeared younger without the performance. Can we speak? No. I continued packing, didn't even glance at her. I didn't intend for this to get out of hand. If you don't move out of my way, I'll walk through you. Her voice became smaller, shaky, unusual. Mom is going to find out about the other stuff. The true reason I needed the money. When she does, the consequences will be dire. That made me pause, turn around. For a brief moment, I saw terror in her eyes. Real panic. She seemed to have underestimated something and was only now realizing how deep the hole was. Then you should find out how to spin it because you're so excellent at it. Her face wrinkled. I was afraid. I wasn't sure what else to do. You could have told the truth. You couldn't have blamed me. You had alternatives. I understand. I apologize. I truly am sorry. I gazed at her, really looked. I saw the girl with whom I used to build blanket forts as a child. The one who would sneak me Halloween candy after Mom told me I'd eaten enough. That person felt like a fictional character. The truth is, Brianna, I don't believe you regret doing it. I believe you're sad it didn't work. I closed my bag and moved past her. She didn't try to stop me. The rented home became our new normal, a small 2-bedroom house across town. Dad bought a coffee machine, and we established a morning routine. He'd prepare breakfast before his shift. I'd get myself to school. Over dinner, we'd swap notes on how the day had gone. It was quiet, often too quiet, but it was genuine. The carpet was simple beige and had seen better decades. The kitchen had 1980s countertops, but it was ours. No axe to grind, no walking on eggshells. Just me and my father figuring out how to live without the continuous drama. Around Thanksgiving, Dad started seeing someone. Karen, the school nurse from 2 districts over. When my father mentioned I had a cold, she stopped by one Saturday with homemade soup. She didn't try to be a mother, just treated me like a normal person who happened to live there. That meant more than she probably realized. School became a new type of torment. By Monday, everyone knew something had happened. The rumors started tiny. Brianna is unhappy. Family drama. Mason moved out. Normal gossip. Then it grew. When I walked into first period, Tyler refused to make eye contact. At lunch, the cross-country table had an empty seat where I normally sat. Nobody mentioned anything. They just ate and spoke around the area I used to occupy. The quiet was louder than any allegation. People I'd known since elementary school suddenly couldn't recall my name. Girls who used to say hello in the halls went to the other side when they spotted me approaching. The social death happened quickly. Wednesday afternoon, Miss Collins summoned me to the counselor's office. Principal Davenport was waiting at the window. The door closed with a last heavy sound. Mason, we have received an official complaint about your interactions with another student. She slid a document across the desk. This is a notice of accusations. You have the right to respond in writing within 7 school days. I picked up the paper. Official letterhead. Clinical language. An accusation. On or about October 21st, 2020, at around 5:20 p.m. near the athletics equipment shed, Student A claims that you made unwelcome sexual contact. Student A didn't even mention Brianna's name, as if they were shielding an anonymous victim from a terrible predator, as if we weren't siblings who grew up in the same house. The institutional jargon made things worse. They turned me into a case file, an issue to be resolved, not a person. This is about my sister lying to conceal theft from her own account. You can check anything with my father. We have proof. I wasn't even there. Davenport interjected. We take all allegations seriously, regardless of family links or conflicting tales. You are immediately pulled from the cross-country squad awaiting an inquiry. You are also required to maintain no communication with the complainant. She gave me another letter. Immediate suspension from extracurricular activities. Mandatory meeting with the district's Title IX coordinator. Failure to comply will result in expulsion. I walked out of that office, and the corridor seemed different. People stepped away from me, creating space as if I were infected. That night, a client visited the bike shop. A woman in her 40s. I had seen her at school gatherings. She took one glance at me, turned around, and departed without saying anything. Gary saw and took me aside after closing. Are you okay, kid? Yeah. Do you need to chat about anything? Not really. He nodded. I didn't push. You are an excellent worker. I'm not going anywhere. I appreciated it more than I could express. Dad hired a lawyer named Miranda 3 days later. During our first meeting, she sat across from us with a legal pad and spoke 3 words that changed everything. Document everything. She told me to screenshot every lie, preserve every text, note every place with timestamps, and create a timeline so thorough that even the most tenuous charge would crumble against it. I started to carry a pocket notepad. I wrote down where I was when I was there and who saw me. I saved receipts from the bike store, texts from my father, and images with metadata intact. I began considering my own life as a crime scene, requiring proof. The machine continued grinding. Brianna's closest friend, Madison, shared an Instagram story about standing with survivors and believing in women. That didn't mention me, but everyone knew who she was referring to. 260 likes in 1 hour. My cousin Nolan, Brianna's age, and the popular student council president arranged a survivor support rally after lunch and staged it on the quad so that everyone could witness. Brianna discussed finding her voice and not letting fear stop her. I watched through the library window. 68 students turned up with signs and yelled about faith in survivors. Nolan stood at the front with his megaphone, doing what he usually did, halt mid-sentence and survey the audience to ensure everyone was watching. Everything was a show for him. Every cause was simply another line on his college application. He'd reference legendary activists he'd never heard of before, and he'd close each speech with his hands squeezed together as if he was praying for us all. Nobody mentioned my name. They didn't have to. Someone slashed both of my bike tires 3 days later, leaving them flat in the parking lot. Someone spray-painted something on my locker that maintenance covered, but the outline was still visible through the fresh paint. Someone initiated a petition to have me removed for the protection of female students. It collected 417 signatures in 2 days. Nolan was responsible for most of it. Golden boy, future lawyer, moral crusader who thought I was the ideal villain for his hero narrative. Dad wanted to press charges. Miranda warned against it. They are attempting to provoke you. Don't give them ammo. So I took it. I absorbed the hatred. I became a ghost in my own school. The weeks went by in a flurry of meetings with the Title IX coordinator, who asked the same questions in various orders, as if she was trying to catch me lying. Documents to fill out, statements to write. Each session felt like a trial for something I hadn't done. The coordinator would sit there with her clipboard, asking me to explain my location, my connection with Brianna, and why I believed she would lie. Each inquiry implied guilt. Every answer was suspicious. I began bringing Miranda to meetings so that I could have someone who believed me in the room. Then one Friday, a teacher from my former middle school spotted me at the supermarket. Miss Donnelly. She taught me 7th grade English. She recognized me in the cereal aisle. Mason, is that you? I nodded. She gazed at my face. Something clicked. I learned about what was going on at the high school through the rumor mill. I didn't say anything. For what it's worth, I know you. I know the student who remained after class to assist arranging books, always handed in assignments on time, and never created a problem. She paused. I don't believe it. Thanks. Continue to be patient. Truth has a way of getting out. She squeezed my shoulder before walking away. That compassion allowed me to breathe for another week. Lies take energy and regular reinforcement. Liars eventually become tired. Brianna began sliding in November. Her Instagram stories showed her at parties, smiling, dancing, appearing everything but terrified. She shared images at a concert with the comment, "Finally feeling free again." Miranda caught it first. I sent the screenshots to Dad with a letter. Your daughter's conduct is not consistent with that of someone who has experienced trauma. Save everything. Then the ATM surveillance footage arrived. After weeks of delay, the bank finally delivered. The tape showed Brianna at every place, and on every date she blamed solely on me. There was no evidence of coercion, simply a teenager withdrawing her own cash. The theft accusation was officially dropped. Brianna's remark was completely ignored. They focused solely on the attack story since it was more difficult to refute, but the fractures were apparent. Madison shared something on TikTok in late November, then removed it 20 minutes later. But Miranda had already screenshotted it, a video of her and Brianna at a party with the text overlay, "When your drama takes you out of calculus for a week." Then followed the medical record request. Miranda requested Brianna's paperwork for the claimed attack, hospital trips, doctor's appointments, any evidence that she sought care for trauma or bodily injury. The school pushed back on privacy, confidentiality, and victim protection. Miranda pressed harder. If you are going to accuse someone of an attack serious enough to justify expulsion, you must provide proof, real evidence, not Instagram postings. The records came back empty. No visits, no doctor's notes, no counselor reports. Miranda convened a conference with the school's legal team. bringing medical documents, ATM footage, my location history, witness statements, everything. She laid it out like a prosecutor. The Title IX coordinator seemed uneasy. The school's lawyer began taking notes. They agreed to continue the investigation, but I could see it on their faces. They knew Brianna was lying. They simply didn't know how to confess it without losing their reputation. The school kept dragging its feet, organizing follow-up meetings and asking for further documents as if they expected the situation to resolve itself. Every week, they would want one more piece of evidence, witness testimony, or timeline verification. Classic bureaucratic delaying. They had painted themselves into a corner by publicly supporting Brianna, and now backing down meant acknowledging they had almost expelled an innocent child. Then, before they could reach a conclusion, the full news broke. Brianna's boyfriend was arrested. Derek, a 22-year-old pill dealer, operating out of his apartment. Police discovered customer lists, transaction data, and SMS communications. Brianna's name was mentioned 11 times. For weeks after Derek's arrest, the police arrived at Mom's house. They asked to talk with Brianna about her connection to him, asked whether she had purchased any controlled drugs. That's when Brianna snapped. She confessed to everything. Drug usage, money, and falsehoods about myself. All of it came out because she needed to make a bargain to escape prosecution. The police report arrived on Miranda's desk 5 days later. She summoned us into her office and set it on the conference table. Your sister confesses in her statement that she made up the theft charge to mask drug transactions. She also acknowledges that the assault claim was made to divert attention as the theft tale began to unravel. I glanced at the words in black ink on white paper. Official confession. What will happen now? We deliver this to the school. Demand complete reinstatement. All records expunged, and the error publicly acknowledged. The school resisted for 3 weeks. They attempted to arrange a discreet conclusion, where they would clean my record but not admit fault. Miranda said no. We may either seek public recognition or approach the media and the school board. They relented. Principal Davenport delivered a statement during an all-school assembly. Brief, dry business rhetoric addressing new knowledge and faults made throughout the investigation. Brianna's name was never mentioned, nor was mine. Just broad statements about ensuring fairness in the future. The assembly was obligatory. Everyone poured into the gym. I stood in the back row, watching Davenport the podium, appearing as if she'd rather be anywhere else. The statement took around 75 seconds. Then she dismissed everyone. That was all. Months of anguish condensed into a minute and a half of business talk. Nolan sat 4 rows ahead of me in the assembly. He didn't turn around, didn't apologize, just gazed straight ahead as if a man who had realized his cause was built on sand. After the assembly, Coach Bennett met me in the corridor. Mason, we would love to have you back. State championships are coming soon. I gazed at him, remembering how fast he let me go when it counted. I'm good. Are you sure? We could definitely use you. I said I'm good. I walked away without looking back. The formal exoneration did not solve anything. Rather, it highlighted the harm. My reputation was still radioactive. Those who had signed the petition did not apologize. They just pretended they never believed it in the first place. Tyler attempted to reconcile. He showed up at the rented house one Saturday with a pizza. Hey man, I know things got strange. I simply wanted to apologize for not being there when you needed someone. I let him talk for about 3 minutes. You've known me since 4th grade. We ran every mile together, and the moment someone shared a tale, you left. That's everything I need to know. He left the pizza and didn't return, but I wasn't pleased with simply walking away. Miranda assisted me in filing a civil lawsuit. Defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress, particularly on Brianna. We didn't ask for money. I asked for something better. Courtroom testimony under oath. Public admission of the falsehoods. Brianna's lawyer attempted to reach a settlement. offered compensation, secrecy, and mutual non-disparagement. Miranda laughed in his face. My client does not desire money. He seeks truth. The case progressed through the system. Depositions, discovery. Brianna was under oath, acknowledging every lie, every premeditated move, every moment she'd chosen to continue the story even though she knew it was harming me. Watching her deposition was bizarre. She sat in a conference room with a lawyer beside her, answering question after question about the falsehoods. Why she fabricated the theft charge, elevated it to assault, and allowed it to continue for months. Each answer made her appear smaller, more desperate. The performance was over. Just a girl who dug a hole and continued to dig. Her lawyer kept attempting to portray her as a victim of circumstance, a nervous girl making poor decisions under pressure. Miranda demolished it with surgical skill, demonstrating the timeline, the social media posts praising her strong stance, the coordination with Nolan and Madison, the total absence of trauma symptoms. Brianna was in tears at the end. Real tears, not performance. The weight of consequences had finally landed. We settled before going to trial. Brianna agreed to provide a public retraction on every platform she had used to propagate the charges. There was no wiggle room or softening allowed in the court-approved wording. She had to explain unequivocally that she had invented the assault complaint, lied about the theft, that I had done nothing wrong, and that she accepted full responsibility for the damage done. The posts went online in August. The fallout was swift. Nolan removed his social media accounts. Madison issued a vague apology about learning lessons and was ridiculed in the comments. Mom cried and begged Dad to have me drop the suit. Dad said that Brianna was to blame for the disaster. She could live there. Senior year, I concentrated on two things: academics and getting out. No drama, no social life, just applications, essays, and plans for somewhere far away. Dad and Karen became increasingly serious. She began attending Sunday dinners at our house. She brought her daughter, Haley, on several occasions. The girl was 15, quietly read fantasy literature. We ended up discussing novels one evening as Dad and Karen handled the grill. It was my first regular discussion in months. I was accepted to a public school 5 hours north. Full scholarship for an industrial design program. In August, just before my freshman year, Dad helped me pack the vehicle. Before we left, he gave me something, an old shoebox from his closet. What is this? Letters from your mother and Brianna. They've been sending them to the house. I preserved these in case you wish to read them. I looked at the package. There must have been 30 or 40 letters in there. Different handwriting and postmarks. Would you want to read them? Dad asked. I thought about it for approximately 12 seconds. Then I gave back the package. Burn them. Dad didn't argue, only nodded. That weekend, we had a fire in our backyard. The letters were delivered, one by one. I watched as they curled, blackened, and turned to ash. It didn't feel victorious, rather essential. College was different. Nobody knew my tale. I was just another freshman, trying to figure out where the dining hall and library were. I joined the intramural running club. I became buddies with my roommate, started dating a girl in my design class. Her name was Sophie. Funny and forthright. She didn't take herself too seriously. We'd been dating for 7 months before she asked about my family. I told her the truth. All of it. The lies, the seclusion, the lawsuits, the letter burning. She listened without interrupting. After I finished, she was quiet for a minute. That's rather hefty. Yes. Your sister sounds like a piece of work. That's one way to phrase it. Are you all right now? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Getting there. She kissed my forehead. We watched a movie, and she didn't mention it again unless I did. That's when I realized she was different. I graduated with my degree in hand. Spent the next 7 years establishing a career at a company that creates sustainable agricultural equipment. I got engaged to Sophie. We selected an apartment with decent heat and non-leaking windows. Dad visited 3 times a year. He brought Karen. We'd go to breweries and speak about usual topics. He never mentioned Mom or Brianna unless I specifically asked. I didn't ask. Brianna attempted to contact me again last month. An email from a cousin said she was in rehab and working on herself. I hoped we could find peace eventually. I deleted it without replying. 3 weeks ago, on a Sunday afternoon, the doorbell rang. Sophie was out buying groceries. I opened the door, anticipating a delivery. Mom and Brianna stood on the porch. They appeared older and weathered. Mom's hair had become more gray. Brianna had lost weight and her face was drawn. She looked nothing like the girl who used to command every room. She was exhausted and hollowed out. The air had an October bite to it. Not quite chilly enough for a jacket, but enough to get your attention. The same weather as that night years ago when everything began. The trees on our block were already changing, with leaves turning brown around the edges. For a split second, I forgot how to breathe. Then muscle memory kicked in. What are you doing here? Mom's voice sounded smaller than I recalled. We wanted to chat, Mason, and attempt to make things right. My hand trembled against the doorknob. I could sense a cold seeping in. The same October chill as that night years ago. There is nothing to make right